Welcome, everyone, and this is episode 32 of They Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by...
Daniel Bishop. Hello, Hunter.
Hello, Daniel Bishop. Oh, hold on a second.
Hello, Daniel Bishop.
Oop. Self-aware or otherwise, I think that's just... You've been replaced by a robot.
You may have heard my real voice, but that's not what people want to hear. What are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about replacing people with robots, Hunter. Specifically, is AI going to replace your coding job, or maybe is AWS selling snake oil? Expensive snake oil.
We'll definitely be taking a closer look at Tesla again and some of their
new hires.
Are they hiring people to just be training data for their new robotic platform? Well, we'll be finding out a little bit more today.
We're also going to learn about California that's cooking up a potential new law, one that might label AI-generated images as such.
And finally, just a few more robots, from Shaky Chihuahuas to spider bots. We will be diving deeper into how AI shall mix with robotics. It's all up next, folks, because you are listening to...
They might be self-aware.
How much time do we have before
for the episode? Somewhere around half an hour or so.
No,
I think that's what we're doing these days.
How long will podcasting exist as a career? What there isn't zero like pure AI generated podcasting that's happening today. But it feels like a real minority. I think
if we're talking about non-human intelligences and podcasts thereof, we've been having that. It's not a new phenomenon. This has probably existed in some way, shape, or form for 10,000 years or so, since the first people sat around the first fires and discussed the burning lights in the sky and their effect on us. Subscribe and give your thumbs up and thumbs down back then. But that's what high priests were for.
We started work as engineers writing code. And I don't know about you, but I always thought it was like, okay, like I'm in the one safe job that never gets eliminated. Again, we're going back many years because like someone's got to like... This
is not going anywhere.
Yeah, no. Someone will always have to program the computer to do the thing. And now as AI gets incorporated more and more into these processes, there's, of course, rapid speculation that coding as a profession is largely going to go away. And it was this last week that Matt Garman, who's AWS is specifically as part of Amazon's CEO. So he runs probably one of the top places where all these AI models are being trained, has said that he sees AWS or Amazon's large engineering infrastructure, that many of the coding jobs are going to disappear. And he had a very tight timeline on that. Over the next 2 years, he expects, the quote almost suggested a majority, but I don't. Do you buy this at all?
What you're saying is the CEO of a company that has a vested interest in getting people to use their low code and no code solutions is saying, don't bother learning to code, just come to us instead.
I don't know that's
because AI. It's not because we want to overcharge you for stuff you could build yourself. It's because AI. That's why. Is that what you're telling me?
That is a possibility, but there are also there are legal ramifications for suggesting that you're going to reduce your workforce by more than 50% over the next year. There will be market expectations to the outcome of that. Generally, markets react favorably when companies figure out how to be more efficient. So I don't. It strikes me a pure BS just because I use those AI code generating tools every single day and am very familiar with the quality of their output. Super impressive, but replacing half the engineers?
No. Now, having used...
One word.
Just no.
Word. Move on. No, the answer is no.
Next. Having used Claude to use their artifacts, which are now generally available. Everyone can use them, which is very cool. Be able to build a simple game from nothing right then and there in your browser or on that. That is astonishing. We, in the last couple of years, have gone from other no code, low code type solutions of little templates, almost like Squarespace style. I'm going to build a website out of some pieces. And those are great. I'm glad that those kinds of services exist. But we have made this tremendous set of strides in terms of capabilities. And I don't have any reason to think that we're going to stop having more strides forward. I still don't think you're going to successfully say that you can replace your whole engineering team with an Anthropic or OpenAI or whatever subscription and just call it a day. That's not how you're going to build an entire tech stack. It's not how you're going to build a whole product. You can build little prototypes easily enough, but there's a wild difference between I got something running in a browser versus this is ready to be in production, being served at scale to thousands and thousands of users. I still think that this is going to be an ever more useful tool to make people more efficient. Now, that efficiency will probably show up as less people hired, some people fired, but I don't think most developers don't need to code in 2 years. I think that is a wild, despite having seen incredible advances in this technology, I think that is an utterly ridiculous statement. It's someone who's trying to see their own stock go up and watch more people use their platform, which has a lot of useful tools, but it's not you don't have to do any coding. So all of that having been expanded into a rant from my end, I do have a yes that I want to kind of tack on to the very end.
What is your yes?
I don't think all code needs to be as part of a large organization that is making production ready code that is going to be some big paid service online, something like that. Sometimes someone who isn't a strong programmer or isn't a programmer at all might have an idea of, I want to make some thing on the computer. Hey, AI box, can you make a dancing tiger on the screen that barfs out rainbows every time I say the word orange? Whatever thing. That I think we're getting into the realm of possibility of, and lots of like little apps, little games, stuff that people would have never really pursued because to find someone to make this for you would have been wildly too expensive for the average person. I do think that we're going to get to a point where simple games, simple apps, simple whatevers are something that people just kind of make for fun on demand and have the capabilities of doing so.
So if
way beyond they're like regular game creation software, your Unities, or even like an RPG maker type software. I'm saying way easier than that. You literally just ask in plain English, I want like a top-down platformer that does such. I think we're getting to a point where that becomes a lot more available. Maybe not via AWS, though.
So if Matt should potentially suggest that in 2 years' time, 70% of the engineers at AWS, by the way, don't you love that if you're an engineer at AWS?
Oh, no, I think he means other programmers. This is everyone else can stop programming. We need our programmers to keep making the services that you'll pay us money for. I really don't think he's saying that it's their own programmers. We're making AWS more useful.
Okay, great. If it's true. But okay, I buy that angle a little bit more. And I guess if there is an overarching question, it is to what degree is all the work that we are doing, just helping to create these models faster and faster and faster. In fact, there was a story this last week about Tesla, who's been hiring people to wear tracking suits so that they can help train their new, what would you call it? Android humanoid platform that they've demoed a couple of times. But it potentially will first replace the last mile of workers in their own factories. But I know, Elon's been talking about incredible sales if they could actually deliver it, which, okay, sure. If you could actually deliver it, incredible sales. I'll give you that one. But yeah, is all the work that we're doing from here on out just to train the AI?
Well, for things like OpenAI, there is a little box that you can check that says, hey, don't use my responses to train your models. But I do think that there is absolutely something to training these models becomes a more and more important task. We need more data to train these bigger, newer, more complicated models. As it relates to real world type things, I'm flabbergasted that I haven't seen Amazon do this exact same thing that Tesla's doing with workers in their warehouses.
And they already
can't believe that they hadn't already. Yeah.
Ton of automation in their workforces. I guess
in the idea of a humanoid robot, let's watch how a person packs up a box. Let's watch how a person moves this thing from one conveyor belt to another. It absolutely makes sense that you would need good training data for that. And some of this can be done in simulations and so on. But I think you can boost that process quite a bit by having hours and hours and hours of footage, mocap style sensors, whatever it ends up being, of people doing that for sure.
Do you think people will have, I mean, you mentioned when you're using ChatGPT, you can check the box. Hey, don't use what I'm giving you as training data.
Yeah.
But these examples, the Tesla examples where Tesla is your employer and they're like, hey.
Sure. But they're also paying people to wear the suits. It's in the article that we read, it says that they're being paid up to, so I don't know what the bottom amount is, $48 per hour.
The question is, your next job, they let you know, hey, just so you know, we capture every keystroke off of your keyboard, every meeting you're in, all of the audio, and that goes to train a model because in the future we won't, need you. It could be it's
not that model.
It's far away, but conceptually, does every company have training data, and should they all be collecting it to the degree possible, or? And how much as a worker
I don't
do you
think so.
have a problem with that?
Besides the obvious privacy concerns, and I think a lot of people know, or at least have a sneaking suspicion that everything that they're doing on a company computer can be or is being logged, as well they should. I think there is a gulf between we can see every email that Bob in accounting opens, and we are training a large language model or some other neural network based on all of that behavior to automate that specific job. I don't think that those two things have like a direct line between them, because to train, especially if we're thinking about large language models, that's just text in versus text out. And you could look at like a vision model that then sees a picture and then describes it in words, but those aren't really at the same state right now. Okay, let's assume they get better. Still, I don't think that you could say, hey, large language model, here's a description of what Bob in accounting would do, and this is how his morning routine goes. Now learn to emulate that. I don't think that's where the real benefit is. The benefit isn't in learning how Bob uses his computer. It's how Bob accomplishes the tasks. And those tasks in accounting are going to be accounting tasks. And I don't think LLMs are particularly well suited to those yet. Not to say they won't be forever. Accounting or marketing or sales or CX or whoever it ends up being, I think there's a lot more to be gained from fine-tuning existing models of these are the kinds of conversations this person would have with the people that they interact with to help speed that up, to help make it more efficient, to help automate some of those tasks. For programmers, help automate some of the work that they're doing. But I don't think that you're trying to replace the person. You're trying to replace the economic output that the person provides. And I do think that those are somewhat separate things. Now, the person wearing the mocap suit, the thing the person provides is a lot closer to the person. It's literally the actual work and movements that the person is doing that you then have to translate into a robot. So training robots versus training neural networks, I think that needs to be kept separate, because training a robot, yes, that's way more what is the actual human being doing? How do they move around?
Sure. And of course, the friendly reminder that, yes, the tools are increasing their economic output that they can then extend more or do more, but often there's a fixed limit on that. And we only need the person who does the Excel charts. We only need so many great Excel charts. And so if you can now, great, you can do them 5 times faster and the person is freed up to do more, but is the company going to look at it like, hey, let's find something else to do, or we don't need quite as much?
Isn't that half the promise of like Salesforce or Power BI or any of these kinds of like tools and suites of here's your data, we'll help you organize it more gooder.
Very true. And that's been, I guess, the evolution of everything is to make it more efficient. It's just that the rate of change right now, right?
That's true. And we are seeing that increase. You gave me a thought when it comes to hiring people to wear these mocap suits.
What if you
to
had to wear
train
the
presumed
mocap
like
suit?
manual laborers, right? Do you think that I know I've seen a couple of things in the news of there's a 3D printed house and you see some nozzle that's like spurting out lines of concrete or concrete alike to build something up. Are we going to try and replicate the results of humanoid workers for roofing, for plumbing, for electric work, for putting up foundations of houses? I don't think it's an if, I think it's a when.
Sure.
But still, we're working off of a very specific platform. The humanoid shape. Is a two-armed, two-legged being the right size and shape to do electrical work or plumbing work or whatever? I've seen plenty of, there's the guy who's kind of bent over underneath your sink. Why not have some, I don't know, spider or dog or whatever shaped robot with a couple manipulator arms to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have our mixture of experts.
I think we're seeing a big shift right now toward making humanoid robots very, very capable. Give it another few years after that, I think we're going to start seeing some really weird form factors that are more stable or faster, easier to work with.
And I guess conceptually,
probably more horrifying.
With enough data collected from completing these tasks, it can become a reinforcement learning problem of running that data through simulations to figure out what the ideal machine would be in order to maximize whatever the goal, the reward is in that situation. So yes,
I just want to see a spider in a mocap suit with the little white balls like all up and down. And of course you could do different size dogs because like a Great Dane and a Chihuahua work and act and walk differently.
Yeah.
Give me a tiny, I want to see the Boston Dynamics instead of like the dog. I want a really little dog and then a really big dog and just watch the shaky little Chihuahua model do its own thing.
There's a bill that has a high chance of getting through in California right now that will require any content that was created by generative AI to be labeled at the moment it was created, and will require that label, which will be in the form of metadata, to be rendered throughout the entire process. And they're also requiring websites to integrate that metadata to then label whether the provenance of an image is known, and if it was AI generated, or unknown. So still technically you don't have to follow this process, but if you do in California, all your content will be labeled as, we don't know where this came from. So, but you don't think that one day they're going to try to accomplish something similar with physical work that was AI leveraged?
Okay, so I know OpenAI has said that they had the ability to, but maybe won't necessarily have text have a watermark on it.
Right.
There are audio sort of watermarks that are currently being put into like the voice mode there to purposely keep it somewhat robotic sounding.
And they are now supporting this bill, by the way.
There is the other side of things, which currently exists but is having trouble getting some traction. It's the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. So that's real pictures. You take a picture and it's going to have all the metadata associated with it. Supposedly, we've got Microsoft and OpenAI and Sony and the BBC and Adobe and so on. All these people are in this coalition, and the very rough gist is, let's be able to make sure that stuff that people make has some sort of little tag on it that says that it's real. The opposite, or you could even just say the lack thereof, is this is not a real thing. But of course, plenty of people are going to just like draw something in MS Paint and not bother getting it digitally signed and certified. I do think that there should be something like the C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. C2PA should have its counterpart in "so you made something using AI." The problem is you can incorporate that into DALL-E and Midjourney and so on as much as you want, but there are enough people with off-the-shelf existing local image generation software that will not go for that. I guarantee they're not going to go for it.
Well, that's why they're also requiring you to label when provenance unknown on images. So if you are
sure, if you upload anything onto the internet, you have to know where it came from or that you don't know where it came from.
Well, it's not that if you upload it, but you're a newspaper and you want people from California to view your newspaper online. You will.
Okay, so this is for like print media and so on. This isn't literally anywhere on the internet.
They define it. It's like large internet providing services or something like that, which is describing any site that a lot of people come to, basically.
Okay.
And so you need to support these labels on your site if you are going to have customers in California per the bill, which is not passed yet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can get behind that, and it would make it easier, I suppose, to be able to say, I, a journalist, found from appropriate sources real human-made pictures, as opposed to like, well, I need a picture of a sloth wearing a hat.
Yeah.
Hey, Mid-Journey, boop, and then just slapping that on there and people possibly thinking that it's real.
And I did also try to understand the use case where you have some source material that came from one of the, it outlines something in ChatGPT, or there's an image that you used in association with the article that came from one of these models. But then you open the image up in Photoshop and made extensive edits on it. Are you still required to preserve that provenance or not? And
Right. We've talked about that.
It doesn't seem like
plenty
it's saying
previously.
that.
I don't know at what point you remove or get to keep that watermark. Because, right, any sort of digital manipulation whatsoever, anything that isn't film and just film, just being developed, like there is digital image manipulation happening no matter what.
Right.
So it becomes, where do you draw the line? Some lines are obvious. A lot of them aren't.
Well, we've been talking about how we're already at the point where you really can't trust a static image. And so maybe this is just, it is the education part that, hey, look, we're going to require, in California saying, we're going to require every image. If you don't know it's not cryptographically signed as coming from, well, a human or the other processes, you don't know where it came from. We do not know the provenance. We don't know, even though it's reporting to be something very official. All right. Yes. But is it actually known that it's official? No.
Yeah. And then you just have to put alleged next to it, or you're not allowed to post it, depending on how this law, if it passes, shakes out. Sure.
Maybe it can help us all become just a little bit more self-aware. I don't know. This has been episode 31 of They Might Be Self-Aware, and we've been happy to be here to guide you through it. I am Hunter Powers.
And I'm Daniel Bishop.
If you want more of these episodes,
and we know you do,
hit that little subscribe button. It's probably on down, maybe it's up. I think it's down, or you're listening and you're gonna have to open the app and actually go and find the button to hit subscribe.
Then it's likely down because it's probably in your pocket, and that's down from where your listening parts are.
These are all excellent points, and you can hear them on pretty much every major platform, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. The TikTok account has been a little active recently, but yeah, we're there where you want to listen. And until next time.
They might be self-aware.